CITIWERX, the living city, how Huntington York development is building what others only dreamed of, a complete master narrative by yours truly, C. Cortland Hooper, Ph.D. and Chief Systems Integrator. Part 1. The Broken Promise of Smart Cities. Why the world's most ambitious urban projects have failed to deliver. There is a word that has been overused, overpromised, and underdelivered for more than 2 decades. That word is smart. Smart cities, smart infrastructure, smart buildings, smart grids. The vocabulary of urban intelligence has become so pervasive, and the gap between the language and the reality so wide that it has begun to function as a form of camouflage, a way of selling the future without actually building it. The world has been promised smart cities before, and it is worth spending a few moments in honest examination of what has actually been delivered, because understanding why the celebrated attempts fell short is the clearest way to understand why HYDC CITIWERX is different. Masdar City, Abu Dhabi, the $22 billion mirage. In 2008, Abu Dhabi announced Masdar City, a $22 billion zero-carbon, zero-waste city built from scratch in the desert. It was to house 50,000 residents, be served entirely by renewable energy, and operate as a showcase for sustainable urban living. International architects, engineering firms, and media outlets celebrated it as the definitive proof that the smart city of the future was now buildable. 16 years later, Masdar City houses fewer than 2,000 people. The personal rapid transit system, the futuristic driverless pod network that was its signature transport solution, has been abandoned. The zero-carbon targets have been quietly revised. The project, never more than a fragment of its original vision, costs Abu Dhabi hundreds of millions in ongoing subsidies annually. What was supposed to be a model for the world became a cautionary tale for anyone willing to read it honestly. What went wrong? The technology was real, the money was available, the political will was present. The failure was architectural, not physical architecture, but systems architecture. Masdar was designed as a showcase for concepts of sustainability without genuine ownership, control, and integration of the technologies required to make a city self-sufficient. It was a collection of individual green features assembled in one place, not a living system in which every component produces inputs for every other component. It was a beautiful display case with no engine inside. India's 100 Smart Cities mission, ambition without architecture. Closer to the geography of HYDC's work, India's own Smart Cities mission, announced by Prime Minister Modi in 2015 with a commitment to 100 smart cities and 48,000 crore rupees in central government funding, has produced a catalogue of results that tell a story of massive ambition and structural limitation. Many of the 100 selected cities have installed sensors, built command and control centers, and laid fiber, but surveys consistently show that residents report little or no improvement in their quality of life. The reason is clear to any systems engineer. India's Smart Cities mission-funded technology overlays on existing urban infrastructure without addressing the foundational failures of that infrastructure. You cannot make a smart city by putting an app on top of a water system that cannot guarantee supply, or a sensor network on top of a power grid that loses 30% of its electricity in transmission and still experiences regular blackouts. The intelligence layer requires a physical foundation worthy of it. And that foundation, energy sovereignty, water sovereignty, waste sovereignty, food sovereignty, is exactly what was missing. Again, the world's failed smart city projects share a single fundamental flaw. They are all concepts of the future, dressed in technology language, built on physical infrastructure that belongs to the past. They have smart features, but not smart foundations. They can manage what they cannot supply. They can measure what they cannot control. And when the physical system fails, the grid goes down, the water stops, the supply chain breaks. No amount of sensors or software changes what happens next. What all the failed attempts have in common. Analyze every significant smart city project that has fallen short of its promise, and the pattern is consistent. None of them own the energy technology that powers their city. None of them control the water supply that serves their residents. None of them have closed the loop on waste, converting it back into resources that feed their own systems. None of them have built a circular economy in which every output is another system's input, and the whole becomes more efficient as it grows. They have concepts of the future. They do not have ownership, control, access, and implementation of the technologies required to fulfill the dream. That distinction is the entire story of CITIWERX, and it is what makes everything that follows different from everything that came before. It is why only HYDC at this moment is positioned to actually deliver on the dream. Part 2. The CITIWERX Platform, a living city. What it means to actually build a self-sufficient urban ecosystem. Huntington York Development Corp. is not building smart cities. The word smart has been used too many times in the wrong context. HYDC is building living cities, urban ecosystems that breathe, metabolize, and evolve, communities that generate their own energy, harvest their own water, convert their own waste into fuel and resources, grow their own food, and manage their own digital economy. Not cities that are dependent on the systems around them, but cities that are genuinely, physically, and operationally sovereign. The platform that makes this possible is called CITIWERX, and CITIWERX is best understood not as a technology product or a master planning framework, but as a systems integration architecture, the engineering intelligence that recognizes that the right combination of mature, proven, owned technologies, assembled in the right relationships, creates something that no individual technology could achieve alone. The CITIWERX platform operates through 8 integrated city systems, next-generation green townships designed for the highest quality of modern life, intelligent water management with closed-loop recycling, embedded renewable energy through multiple layered technologies, vertical farming for local food production, carbon-neutral modern infrastructure, the CITIWERX digital platform, a 7-layer IoT architecture connecting every building, every utility, every resident service, and every infrastructure system, cultural and heritage integration, and a smart energy grid that ties all of it together. But the soul of CITIWERX is not any one of these systems. It is the technology stack that powers all of them, a portfolio of owned and controlled technologies that makes every commitment to residents real, verifiable, and permanent. Those technologies are turbo-gen microgrid power generation and off-grid distribution, iLamp AI infrastructure, drip-drop atmospheric water generation, the Hooper Group energy triad of solar thermal, plasma arc gasification, and Denergy Tech directed energy molecular transformation, and the GenInvent advanced technology portfolio that closes every gap in the stack. These are not vendor relationships. They are owned technologies, co-developed partnerships, and licensed IP that HYDC controls. The difference between CITIWERX and every failed smart city project is not conceptual. It is ownership. CITIWERX does not describe a future in which energy is clean, water is pure, and waste is eliminated. It owns the technologies that make those futures physically real today. Part 3. The power beneath the city. Turbo-gen microgrid. Hypersonic energy for the 21st century city. Every city faces the same primal question. Where does the power come from? For more than a century, the answer has been the centralized grid, a vast, aging, fragile network of transmission lines stretching across hundreds of miles, losing energy at every kilometer, vulnerable to weather, attack, and the weight of ever-increasing demand. In India, where 416 million people are projected to move from rural villages to cities by 2050, that answer is already failing. The turbo-gen microgrid is a different answer entirely. The science, hypersonic combustion. Every combustion engine ever built uses the same fundamental process, flame front propagation, a wave of burning gas that spreads from an ignition point, converting fuel to heat and pressure. It works, but it is inherently imperfect. The burning is uneven. Heat escapes in all directions. The result is an engine that converts, on average, 30 to 40% of the fuel's energy into useful work. The rest, 60 to 70% is wasted. The turbogen does not use flame front propagation. Instead, it employs hypersonic, highly chemi-ionized combustion. The air and fuel react practically instantaneously at hypersonic speeds, orders of magnitude faster than any flame front can travel. The combustion event is essentially complete before the gases have moved at all. The result is a far more perfect, far more controllable burn, with thermal efficiency that leaves conventional generators far behind. The physical elegance of the turbogen matches its combustion sophistication. The entire unit consists of three main modules: a turbine module, a combustion module, and a high-speed electrical alternator module, and only one moving part, the high-speed rotor shaft assembly, one moving part in an entire power plant. The implications are profound. Maintenance requirements drop dramatically, failure risk plunges, and operational lifespan extends far beyond anything conventional generators can achieve. The microgrid architecture. A single turbogen unit is not the complete solution. The complete solution is the microgrid, a distributed power generation and storage system built around turbogen units, supplemented by solar capacity, anchored by battery energy storage, and managed by intelligent power electronics that balance generation, storage, and consumption in real time. The microgrid inverts the centralized grid model entirely. Power is generated where it is consumed, inside the city, on the block, at the building level. There are no long-distance transmission losses. The turbogen unit powers the immediate community. Excess power flows to neighbors. If any single node fails, its neighbors absorb the slack. The lights stay on. With cogeneration, the simultaneous extraction of electrical power and useful thermal energy from the same combustion event, the total thermal efficiency of the microgrid rises to 85 to 90%. Nearly all of the energy in the fuel is used. Almost nothing is wasted. For a city that needs both electricity and thermal energy for water treatment, vertical farming, and residential comfort, cogeneration transforms the turbogen from a power generator into a complete community energy system. The fuel flexibility advantage. Perhaps the most strategically important characteristic of the turbogen is that it does not care what you burn. The same combustion chamber can be tuned to operate on natural gas, biogas, bioalcohols, hydrogen, or synthetic fuels, with minor modifications to the fuel injection and control systems. For a smart city that generates organic waste, treats sewage, and manages agricultural residues, this means the city's waste becomes the city's fuel. The fuel generates the city's power. The power runs the city's systems. The circular economy is not aspirational. It is engineered. Part 4. The city that sees in the dark. iLamp AI infrastructure. Intelligence at every corner. There are approximately 55 million streetlights on the surface of this planet. For 145 years, every one of them has been the same thing: a cost center. Cities pay to install them, pay to power them, pay to maintain them. Every light pole on every street in every city in the world is a recurring liability on a municipal balance sheet, necessary, unavoidable, and expensive. Now imagine that every one of those 55 million streetlights was also a solar-powered AI computer, a safety sensor, a traffic analyst, an environmental monitor, a 5G communications node, a drone guidance and charging station, an edge computing facility selling GPU processing time to cloud AI workloads around the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, generating revenue that flows back to the city, the owner, and the investor. That is iLamp, and it belongs at the beating heart of every CITIWERX smart city. 7 technologies in one unit. Inside every iLamp unit, 7 distinct technology systems operate simultaneously, integrated into a single weatherproof, self-powered, self-cleaning package. The NVIDIA Jetson AGX Orin the most powerful edge AI module available, delivering up to 275 TOPS of AI performance, serves as the brain, processing sensor data, running computer vision algorithms, executing traffic analysis, and simultaneously selling spare GPU compute cycles to cloud AI workloads worldwide. A 360-degree AI camera provides continuous situational awareness, detecting pedestrian and vehicle behavior, measuring traffic flow, identifying incidents in real time. The 4G and 5G communications module makes every eye-lamp pole a communications hub, providing both connectivity for the city's data systems and Wi-Fi hotspot services for residents. Self-cleaning solar panels and an onboard battery system provide complete off-grid autonomy. No grid connection required, no grid dependency, no vulnerability to the power failures that conventional smart city infrastructure cannot survive. Drone guidance and charging systems prepare the network for the coming era of autonomous aerial delivery and inspection. EV charging integration turns the light pole into a vehicle charging point, and the adaptive LED array itself is continuously tuned by the embedded AI based on actual ambient conditions, illuminating only when needed at the intensity actually required, extending bulb lifespan and reducing energy consumption simultaneously. The AI Factory's revenue model. The most radical thing about iLamp is not the technology, it is the business model. Every iLamp unit generates revenue from 3 independent sources: lighting as a service fees from the host authority, GPU compute revenue from the AI Factory's platform at 9 cents per unit per hour, generating approximately $787 per year per unit from compute sales alone, and data intelligence revenue from the traffic, environmental, and safety data the network produces continuously. A CITIWERX township deploying 500 to 1,000 iLamp units earns between $394,000 and $788,000 annually in GPU compute revenue, independent of residential occupancy, independent of real estate markets, independent of any municipal contract. It flows from global demand for AI compute, a demand growing faster than any other sector in the technology economy and showing no sign of slowing. The street lighting budget becomes a profit center. The cost line becomes a revenue line. Infrastructure that earns money. What iLamp does for CITIWERX. The CITIWERX platform's intelligence is only as good as the data feeding it. You cannot optimize what you cannot measure. iLamp fills the data layer of CITIWERX entirely, not as a separate deployment, not as an additional cost, but as the street lighting infrastructure that was going to be installed anyway, now doing 10 jobs simultaneously. Real-time traffic and mobility intelligence for autonomous vehicle guidance. Environmental monitoring at street-level density for sustainability reporting and air quality management. Public safety detection through behavioral anomaly recognition, gunshot detection, and emergency services coordination. Weather sensing that gives the water generation system predictive foresight. And the backbone of the CITIWERX resident-facing digital services, energy dashboards, safety alerts, environmental quality reports, all of them richer and more accurate because the underlying data is street-level, continuous, and dense. Part 5. Water from thin air drip drop. Atmospheric water generation. The water spine of CITIWERX. There is a crisis unfolding on this planet that receives a fraction of the attention given to energy, climate, or artificial intelligence, and yet it is more immediately, more personally, and more lethally consequential than any of them. It is the water crisis, and it is already here. Aquifers that took tens of thousands of years to fill are being emptied in decades. Cape Town, South Africa, came within weeks of running dry in 2018. Chennai, India's 6th largest city, exhausted all 4 of its major reservoirs in 2019. Bengaluru, the very city where HYDC is breaking ground on its first CITIWERX smart city, has been identified by water security analysts as among the most water-stressed major cities on Earth, drawing down its groundwater at 4 times the natural recharge rate. And here is the profound irony at the heart of the water crisis. The atmosphere of this planet contains approximately 12.9 trillion tons of water vapor at any given moment. Enough fresh water to supply the entire world's needs many times over. The problem is not scarcity of water. The problem is the inability to access the water that is already there, floating invisibly above every city, every farm, and every desert on Earth. The Drip-Drop Breakthrough. Drip-Drop USA has built a proprietary 4-part atmospheric water generation system capable of producing millions of gallons of pure, contaminant-free water per day directly from ambient air. The system works on the principle of thermodynamic condensation, cooling air below the dew point so that water vapor condenses into liquid that can be collected, filtered, purified, and consumed. The fundamental concept is ancient. The breakthrough is efficiency. Stage 1. High-volume air capture designed for metropolitan-scale throughput. Stage 2. Thermodynamic condensation at optimized efficiency. This is where Drip-Drop's fundamental advantage resides, extracting significantly more water from the same volume of air at the same humidity level than any competing system. Stage 3. Collection and primary filtration of condensate that begins as pure vapor, free of the dissolved solids and contaminants that define conventional water quality problems. Stage 4. Purification delivering water free of sodium chloride, boron, alkali, chloride, and the full range of chemical and biological contaminants. Non-mineralized water that can be remineralized to any desired specification for any end use. The result is water production that is environmentally clean from source to delivery, infinitely scalable by adding system capacity, and entirely independent of rainfall, river flow, aquifer levels, or any other hydrological variable. As long as there is air, which is to say, as long as there is an atmosphere, Drip-Drop can produce water. 5 applications inside CITIWERX. In a CITIWERX township, Drip-Drop AWG serves 5 distinct and mutually reinforcing purposes. First, residential water supply. The township generates its entire water requirement from atmospheric vapor with no connection to any regional municipal water system. Residents receive water that is demonstrably purer than any municipal supply, free of the agricultural runoff, pharmaceutical residues, and aging pipe contamination that characterize urban water systems across India and the developing world. Second, vertical farm irrigation. Drip-Drop's non-mineralized, contaminant-free water is ideal for the hydroponic systems that require precise chemical consistency. Third, water treatment process support within the closed-loop water management system. Fourth, emergency and resilience reserve. When regional water crises occur, the CITIWERX township continues producing water normally because its source is the atmosphere, unaffected by whatever ground or surface water emergency affects the region. Fifth, and commercially compelling, a water revenue stream. A CITIWERX township that produces water in excess of its internal needs has a product of extraordinary value to sell in the surrounding community, to industrial users, and to agricultural operations in a market where water scarcity grows more severe every year. Part 6. The Energy Triad: Solar Thermal, Plasma Arc, and Directed Energy, the Deep Foundation. Turbogen, iLamp, and Drip-Drop together form the operational platform of CITIWERX. But beneath them, forming the advanced energy foundation that makes the system truly and permanently self-sufficient, lies the Hooper Group Energy Triad, 3 technologies that, combined, solve the time coverage problem that no single energy source can solve alone. Bethel Solar Thermal, the proven standard. Solar thermal trough technology is not solar panels. The distinction is fundamental. Photovoltaic panels generate electricity only while the sun is directly shining, variable, weather-dependent, temporally limited. Solar thermal technology concentrates sunlight onto a tube of oil using parabolic mirror arrays, heating that oil to temperatures approaching 750 degrees Fahrenheit. The oil generates steam. The steam drives turbine generators to produce grid-quality electricity. And when the sun goes down, The oil retains its heat long enough to continue generating power through the evening demand peak, the most valuable period on any grid. Bethel Energy's team, led by Principal Len Daniel, built 9 of the 12 utility-scale solar thermal systems in existence on Earth, 75% of the world's solar thermal generation capacity. Their installations have operated for 25 years with a documented track record that no competitor has matched. Their mirror technology achieves 97% reflectivity with unbreakable composite mirrors. Their heat collection tube design achieves 96% greater efficiency than competing designs. Their structural design requires 37% less steel and 37% less labor to construct, with a build time of 10 months against competitors' 2-year timelines. Bethel is not one of the options for solar thermal generation. It is the standard against which all others are measured. Plasma arc gasification. The night system. Plasma arc does not burn waste. It dissociates it. At temperatures exceeding 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, more than twice as hot as the surface of the sun, matter does not oxidize. It breaks apart at the molecular level into elemental components, primarily a synthesis gas of hydrogen and carbon monoxide, along with pure elemental outputs including metals, glasses, and mineral slag that can be separated and resold. Incineration converts organic matter to carbon dioxide and pollution. Plasma arc converts organic matter to clean synthesis gas and recoverable elements. The first destroys value. The second creates it. The plasma arc municipal solid waste system processes 1,000 tons of municipal solid waste per day on just 10 acres of land, operating on just 10 acres, producing electricity at utility scale, ultra-low sulfur synthetic diesel ready for the pump, and marketable byproducts, all from the waste that cities currently bury in landfills. It generates 3 simultaneous revenue streams: tipping fees from municipalities who pay to dispose of waste, renewable energy credits for electricity generated from waste, and sales of synthetic diesel and recovered materials. In a CITIWERX township, it is the night system, generating clean power around the clock from the city's own waste, converting what would be a disposal problem into a fuel supply. Denergy Tech Directed Energy, Molecular Transformation. Denergy Tech was founded on physics developed for Star Wars weapons programs and applies it to the most fundamental challenge in energy chemistry, changing what a molecule is, and therefore what it is worth, at a cost that transforms the economics of every major hydrocarbon resource on Earth. By directing high-energy particle beams and microwaves at organic molecules flowing through a pipe, Denergy Tech breaks large molecules apart into smaller, more valuable ones, or fuses small molecules together into larger ones, at a cost per barrel 10 times lower than conventional refinery operations. The applications span 4 domains: natural gas to liquids, 6,000 cubic feet of natural gas converted to a barrel of transportation fuel at $5 to $15 of processing cost, yielding a product worth $138 to $158 per barrel, a 400% margin. Tar sands and heavy oil upgrading, raising the API gravity of bitumen by 10 to 30 degrees, transforming a nearly solid material into pipeline-ready light crude at $3 to $9 per barrel. Coal to liquids, converting coal to crude oil and finished fuel at $15 to $20 per barrel total processing cost, yielding $50 to $70 of value creation per barrel. And biofuel stabilization, removing the organic acids and oxygen compounds that make conventional biodiesel chemically unstable, producing engine-compatible fuel from restaurant grease, forest products, and agricultural residues. In the CITIWERX context, Denergy Tech converts the township's agricultural waste, restaurant grease, and organic residues directly into stable transportation fuels, eliminating purchased diesel entirely and producing a synthetic fuel revenue stream from resources that currently have negative value as disposal problems. Why all 3 are essential. The time coverage solution. The 3 technologies solve the problem that no single energy source can solve alone: time coverage. Energy demand is continuous, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Solar energy is unavailable at night. Biogas production is volume limited. Battery storage cannot economically bridge multi-day deficits. The Hooper Group energy triad, combined with Turbogen, addresses all dimensions simultaneously. Bethel Solar Thermal handles high-efficiency daytime generation with thermal inertia that extends output through the evening peak. The Plasma Arc MSW system handles nighttime generation and inorganic waste streams. Denergy Tech's synthetic fuel production provides the stored energy medium, liquid fuel, that can be combusted in Turbogen on demand, regardless of conditions. The result is uninterrupted, reliable, abundant electricity from resources that are entirely local, entirely renewable or circular, and entirely independent of any external supply chain. Part 7. The Technology Accelerators. General Inventions Portfolio. Closing. Every gap in the stack. General Inventions, LLC, GeneInvent.com, is a deep technology invention and development firm with a multi-industry portfolio spanning advanced computing chips, graphene materials science, AI hardware acceleration, energy systems, smart infrastructure, building electrical systems, biomedical devices, and environmental technologies. Its portfolio represents one of the broadest multi-domain invention inventories held by a single private firm, and 6 technologies within it are of immediate transformative relevance to CITIWERX. The Deterministic AI Decision Accelerator, Triune System. The Triune System is a hardware chip that eliminates the probabilistic guesswork that causes AI systems to make errors, consume excessive energy, and place unsustainable load on processing infrastructure. Rather than allowing AI inference to follow uncertain probabilistic pathways, the chip enforces structured, deterministic logic at the hardware level. The specifications are extraordinary. Up to 98% reduction in AI decision errors, offloading of 40 to 90% of CPU and GPU workload, and reduction in AI energy consumption of 20 to 70%. In a CITIWERX township where AI-driven decision-making runs continuously across traffic optimization, energy routing, water system management, safety monitoring, and resident services, installing the Triune chip in each iLamp NVIDIA Jetson module reduces energy consumption by 20 to 70%, increases surplus compute available for AI factories' revenue, and reduces the error rate in safety-critical detection systems to near zero. It is not an addition. It is a multiplier, amplifying the value of every AI system in the city simultaneously. Full graphene manufacturing system and magic angle photonic chip. Graphene, a single atom-thick lattice of carbon, is the most electrically conductive, most tensile, and most thermally efficient material ever discovered. GeneInvent's full graphene manufacturing system produces 3 distinct ribbon types, including magic angle graphene ribbons that laboratory results have demonstrated can achieve superconducting electrical properties, transmitting electricity with 0 resistive loss. Applied to CITIWERX, graphene electrical conductors in the township's power distribution network reduce transmission losses dramatically. Graphene-enhanced batteries extend off-grid storage time. Multi-layer structural graphene ribbons, described as stronger than steel and lighter than aluminum, reduce structural material requirements in building construction. And the magic angle graphene photonic computer chip, combining graphene transistors with photonic switches to achieve processing speeds described as up to 1 billion times faster than existing technology, transforms the iLamp Edge compute network into a compute platform that commands premium pricing in the global AI workload market. Advanced Building Electrical Systems. CITIWERX is building 130,000 homes across 8 Indian cities in the initial phase. Every single unit requires electrical installation. GeneInvent's Advanced Building Electrical System, redesigned for dramatically faster and simpler installation, reduced copper usage, improved safety, and easy maintenance, reduces construction time and materials cost per unit. Applied across 130,000 units, The aggregate savings represent millions of dollars of construction cost reduction. Applied to the broader Indian market of 5 million new housing units per year, it becomes a licensing revenue stream of extraordinary scale. Automated power line cable release system. India's power grid is one of the world's most stressed transmission networks. Storm-related outages cause billions of dollars of economic damage annually. The automated power line cable release system detects when power transmission lines are damaged by falling trees, ice loading, or storm damage, and releases them automatically in milliseconds, preventing the cascade failures that take down entire grid sections. Installed at every CITIWERX grid interface point, it ensures that national grid failures are automatically isolated from the township's internal microgrid. The township stays powered. The failure does not propagate inward. EPFE Fire Suppression Platform. The EPFE platform, electrically propelled fire extinguisher, suppresses fires rapidly from a distance without water damage, firing shaped projectiles of fire-extinguishing powder that disperse on impact into a cloud that smothers the fire permanently. In a CITIWERX township, this means data center fires suppressed without equipment destruction, vertical farm fires extinguished without contaminating hydroponic systems, and energy infrastructure fires addressed quickly from safe standoff distance. Integrated with iLamp's AI camera network, the system responds automatically when a fire is detected, before emergency services could even dispatch a vehicle. Installed as a construction standard across all residential and commercial units, it reduces insurance costs, eliminates water damage losses, and adds a premium safety feature that every investor's due diligence will appreciate. Again, each GenInvent technology addresses a specific gap in the CITIWERX stack. Together, they close every gap simultaneously, making the city faster, safer, cheaper to build, more resilient to failure, and more profitable per unit of infrastructure deployed than any competing smart city program on Earth. It is a skunk works on megasteroids and will keep HYDC CITIWERX on the leading and bleeding edge of technology for years to come, also developing additional future income streams from its innovations which can be sold or licensed. Part 8. The Living System. How the technologies interrelate. The circular city in motion. Step back now and see it whole, not 5 separate technology categories, not a collection of clever innovations assembled in one geography, a single living system, a circular urban organism in which every component produces inputs for every other component, and the whole is dramatically more powerful, more resilient, and more valuable than the sum of its parts. The energy-water nexus. Energy and water are inseparable. Every water supply system consumes energy. The drip-drop atmospheric water generation system requires significant and continuous electrical power. That power comes from turbogen, running on biogas from the township's own organic waste, achieving 85 to 90% total thermal efficiency through cogeneration. And turbogen's cogeneration thermal output, exhaust heat that would otherwise be wasted, can be integrated into DripDrop's heat exchange architecture, providing supplemental thermal energy that enhances the condensation differential. The same British thermal unit that heats residential hot water also produces more water from the atmosphere. Energy serves water. Water serves the city. The water-food nexus DripDrop. Water, non-mineralized, contaminant-free, and chemically consistent, is the ideal irrigation source for the vertical farming systems that supply the township's fresh food. Hydroponic and aeroponic growing systems are sensitive to dissolved mineral content in ways that field agriculture is not. DripDrop's chemical neutrality means that nutrient delivery can be precisely controlled, growing conditions remain stable and reproducible, and food safety concerns from water contamination are eliminated at the source. Turbogen powers the vertical farm's lighting and climate control. iLamp monitors the farm's environmental conditions. DripDrop supplies the precision water. 3 technologies working together to create a food production system more productive, more reliable, and more sustainable than any conventional agriculture alternative. The waste-energy-water loop. Every CITIWERX township generates organic and inorganic waste continuously: residential waste, commercial waste, agricultural residues from the vertical farms, organic waste from the drip-drop water treatment process. Organic waste goes to anaerobic digesters that produce biogas. That biogas fuels turbogen. Turbogen generates electricity and thermal output. The electricity powers drip-drop. Drip-drop produces water. The water supports the vertical farms. The vertical farms produce organic waste. The waste goes back to the digesters. The Plasma Arc MSW system handles inorganic waste streams that the digesters cannot process, converting everything: plastics, metals, glass, mixed waste, into synthesis gas and recoverable materials. DEnergy Tech converts bio-waste and organic residues into stable transportation fuels. Nothing is landfilled. Nothing is incinerated in the old sense. Everything is transformed. The city consumes its own outputs and wastes nothing. The intelligence layer. iLamp as nervous system. The iLamp network does for every physical system in CITIWERX what the human nervous system does for the body. It provides real-time sensing, processing, and response across every dimension of the city's operations simultaneously. For turbogen, iLamp provides power consumption data that allows the microgrid to balance generation and storage in real time. For drip-drop, iLamp provides humidity readings from hundreds of street-level sensors, air quality data that protects water purity, and weather forecasting that allows the water system to anticipate atmospheric conditions days in advance and pre-position production accordingly. For the Bethel Solar Thermal Array, irradiance data from the iLamp weather station network allows continuous optimization of mirror tracking angles and heat transfer flow rates. For Plasma Arc, waste accumulation data from iLamp connected sensors allows the system to manage its processing schedule in real time. For DEnergy Tech biofuel production, environmental monitoring data informs feedstock logistics and production planning. And the GenInvent Deterministic AI Decision Accelerator, the Triune chip, makes every one of these AI-driven processes faster, more accurate, and more energy efficient simultaneously. The Sentinel cybersecurity chip protects every networked system in the city from the hardware level upward. The EPFE fire suppression system, triggered automatically by iLamp cameras, protects the physical assets that underlie every revenue stream in the model. Part 9. The Revenue Architecture. 7 independent income streams. All infrastructure-backed CITIWERX is not only a quality-of-life proposition for residents and a sustainability achievement for the planet. It is a business, a carefully designed multi-stream revenue architecture in which every technology investment generates ongoing income, and the sum of the revenue streams compounds with every new township, every new franchise, every new city. Stream 1. Residential Real Estate. HYDC's 8-city Indian deployment targets 130,000 homes across Bengaluru, Delhi, Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, Chennai, Ahmedabad, and Kolkata, cities that together represent the core of India's urban growth wave. Every township is positioned at premium pricing, justified by premium quality of life: reliable power, pure water, fresh locally grown food, the safest streets, the cleanest air, and the most connected community infrastructure available anywhere in India. The real estate revenue is the foundation, but it is only one of 7. Stream 2, CITIWERX Digital Platform Services. The CITIWERX digital platform market is estimated to reach $500 billion by 2026 and $1 trillion by 2032. Every township is a node in this platform, generating recurring service fee revenue from resident-facing utilities, applications, and community services. As the franchise scales across India's 104 Tier 2 cities and globally, the platform revenue scales with it, compounding without proportional increase in marginal cost. Stream 3. Water Revenue. Drip-drop atmospheric water generation produces water in excess of township residential needs, creating a utility franchise in markets where water scarcity grows more severe every year. Residential supply, premium bottled water sales, industrial process water supply to commercial tenants, and agricultural irrigation water to surrounding farming operations. 4 market segments served simultaneously by a single production asset that generates value every hour it operates, independent of real estate markets, occupancy rates, or economic cycles. Stream 4. iLamp GPU Compute Revenue. The AI Factory's compute revenue flowing from the iLamp network is independent of every other CITIWERX revenue stream. It flows from global demand for AI compute capacity. At 9 cents per unit per hour across the full 8-city deployment, the aggregate GPU compute revenue represents a substantial and growing income that compounds with every additional iLamp unit deployed in CITIWERX townships and globally through the CPG Territorial License Network. Stream 5. Solar Thermal Utility Revenue. Bethel SEGS installations generate electricity at utility scale, sold to the regional grid, or consumed internally by the township at zero marginal cost after construction. At utility rates in India's power-scarce major cities, a 25-megawatt installation generates revenue measured in millions of dollars per year from infrastructure with a 25-plus-year proven operational life. Stream 6. Plasma Arc. Tipping fees, renewable energy credits, and synthetic fuel sales. The Plasma Arc MSW system is paid to receive its fuel, tipping fees from municipalities and waste haulers who currently have no better disposal pathway. It is paid again for the electricity it generates from waste, renewable energy credits, and paid again for the ultra-low sulfur synthetic diesel and recovered materials it produces. 3 revenue streams from 1 waste input stream. In India's urban context, where municipal solid waste management is a chronic infrastructure failure, a plasma arc facility within or adjacent to a CITIWERX township becomes a regional waste processing service that cities will pay to access. Stream 7. Denergy Tech Synthetic Fuel Production. Denergy Tech's molecular transformation platform converts natural gas, bio-waste, and coal to transportation fuels at processing costs of $5 to $20 per barrel and market values of $100 to $150 per barrel, margins of 400 to 700%. Applied at commercial scale to the feedstocks available in India's energy-rich resource regions, the fuel production business generates revenue measured in tens of millions of dollars annually, growing to hundreds of millions at full commercial scale, independent of real estate, independent of digital platform adoption, a fuel production business embedded in a smart city. Total picture: 7 revenue streams, 5 energy technologies, 1 digital platform, 1 city. No single stream depends on any of the others. Each is backed by physical infrastructure. Each is demand inelastic in its core market, and each benefits from the same macroeconomic forces: India's urbanization wave, the global water crisis, the accelerating demand for AI compute, the energy transition, and the growing global premium placed on self-sufficient, resilient, sustainable urban living. Part 10. The India Opportunity and the Global Vision. The world's largest urbanization wave, CITIWERX at the center. The scale of the opportunity that CITIWERX is positioned to address is not modest. India faces a housing shortage of 93 million units by 2036. 416 million people will migrate from rural villages to Indian cities between now and 2050, the largest rural-to-urban migration in the history of human civilization. Prime Minister Modi's Smart Cities mission has committed to 500 new smart cities, with total infrastructure investment estimated at $1.5 trillion. At the center of this transformation sits Bengaluru, named by Jones Lang LaSalle as the fastest-changing and most dynamic city in the world. HYDC's Phase 1. Eco-Smart Village is shovel-ready, fully permitted, and waiting for construction financing. The first CITIWERX township in Bengaluru is not a concept. It is an engineering blueprint with approved permits, a master planning partnership with CPG Corporation, the former Singapore Public Works Department, one of the world's most respected urban planning organizations, and a technology stack that is proven, owned and ready to deploy. The franchise model, 104 cities and counting. The CITIWERX township model is designed from the outset for global franchising. The same architecture that makes the Bengaluru Phase 1 township water-independent, energy-sovereign, and digitally intelligent is deployable across India's 104 Tier 2 cities, cities that are growing at rates that existing infrastructure cannot serve, and that have no credible alternative to the CITIWERX model for achieving the quality of life their residents and the global investment community will demand. Beyond India, the global addressable market is defined by the geography of water scarcity and energy inadequacy, which is to say, it encompasses most of the world's fastest-growing cities. The Middle East, where water scarcity is already driving geopolitical instability. Sub-Saharan Africa, where 600 million people lack reliable access to clean water. Southeast Asia, where rapid urbanization is outpacing water infrastructure investment. The American Southwest, where the Colorado River Compact is collapsing. Every city in this geography is a potential CITIWERX franchise location. Every franchise deployment carries the complete technology stack with it. The compound value of the network. The CITIWERX franchise model creates a compound value dynamic that is unique in the history of urban development. Every new township strengthens the iLamp AI compute network, generating more GPU revenue per unit already deployed. Every new drip-drop installation proves the atmospheric water generation model in another geography, expanding the franchise case for the next city. Every Plasma Arc MSW facility demonstrates the waste-to-fuel model to the surrounding municipality, creating licensing revenue from the regional grid. Every Denergy Tech fuel production installation generates margins that fund the expansion to the next phase. The network effects of CITIWERX are not digital. They are physical. Every city built makes the next city more valuable to build, more credible to finance, and more compelling to the residents who will choose to live in it. Part 11. The Human Promise. What it actually means to live in a CITIWERX city. Investors and governments need financial models and technology specifications. But cities are ultimately about people. And the most important question about CITIWERX is not what it earns or what it measures. It is what it feels like to live there. It feels like the power never goes out. Because it doesn't. Not in a township that generates its own electricity from biogas, solar thermal, and plasma arc around the clock, managed by a microgrid that balances generation and consumption in real time without depending on a national grid that is strained to its limits. It feels like the water is always on, always pure, and always safe, because it is, not drawn from declining aquifers or aging municipal pipes contaminated by decades of inadequate maintenance, but generated from the atmosphere above the city itself, remineralized to specification, and delivered at a quality standard that no municipal system in India currently achieves. It feels like the air is clean. Because the iLamp sensor network monitors air quality at street-level density across the entire city, the CITIWERX platform adjusts building ventilation systems, traffic routing, and even the drip-drop water system's intake parameters in response to real-time atmospheric conditions, and the Plasma Arc MSW system eliminates the open burning and landfill methane emissions that make conventional Indian cities some of the most air-polluted environments on Earth. It feels like the streets are safe. Because iLamp's 360-degree AI cameras see every street simultaneously, detecting behavioral anomalies and responding before incidents escalate, while the EPFE fire suppression system protects every building automatically, and the city's digital platform gives emergency services real-time location data that makes response faster and more precise than anywhere else in India. It feels like the food is fresh. Because the vertical farms inside the township grow vegetables, herbs, and fruits year-round, in controlled environments that achieve yields 10 times higher than conventional agriculture at 95% less water consumption, delivering produce to residents the same day it is harvested, with no supply chain, no cold storage, no long-distance transportation, and no pesticide residue. And it feels like the future. Not the future that smart city projects have been promising for 20 years, the future of concepts and renderings and press releases, the future of a city that actually works the way the future is supposed to work, where the technology is invisible because it is perfectly integrated, where the quality of life is extraordinary because the infrastructure beneath it is worthy of it, where the city gets better as it grows because it learns from its own operation and continuously optimizes every system it runs. Epilogue. The city is ready, the technology is proven, the vision is complete. The work begins now. There is a thought experiment that engineers use when designing critical infrastructure. What happens if the supply chain fails? What happens if the power goes out, the water stops, the food supply is disrupted? How long can the city survive? For most of the world's cities, the honest answer to all three questions is not long. Most cities have days of water storage, weeks of food inventory in the supply chain, and no meaningful energy independence. They are dependent nodes in fragile networks that extend hundreds of miles in every direction. Networks that have worked reliably long enough that we have forgotten how fragile they are. The CITIWERX Smart City, fully equipped with turbogen microgrid energy, Bethel solar thermal and plasma arc generation, Denergy synthetic fuel production, iLamp AI intelligence infrastructure, drip-drop atmospheric water generation, GenInvent advanced technology, and the CITIWERX digital platform orchestrating all of it, has a different answer to that thought experiment. The energy comes from the city's own waste, its own sunlight, and its own atmospheric resources. The water comes from the air above the city. The food comes from the vertical farms inside the city. The intelligence comes from the city's own sensor network embedded in every streetlight. The digital economy comes from the platform that connects all of it, and the revenue comes from selling the surplus of all of it to the world outside. This city does not run dry when the aquifers fail. It does not go dark when the grid goes down. It does not lose connectivity when the telecommunications infrastructure is stressed. It does not run out of food when the supply chain is disrupted. It is resilient at the level of its fundamental systems, not because it has bigger reserves of externally supplied resources, but because it generates its own. The world's failed smart city projects offered concepts of the future built on the infrastructure of the past. CITIWERX offers the technology of the present, integrated by the systems intelligence of a lifetime, built into cities that are genuinely sovereign, water sovereign, energy sovereign, food sovereign, digitally sovereign, and that earn revenue from every dimension of that sovereignty, around the clock for the entire life of the asset. The technology is proven, the partnerships are established, the master planning is complete, the sites are permitted, the franchise model is designed, the revenue architecture is documented, the investor thesis is clear, the city is ready. To get on board, go to huntingtonyork.com, that's huntingtonyork.com, and contact the visionary CEO who put it all together with a world-class team, Manoj Benjamin, about how you may participate and benefit.